AskReddit, my dad is mad at me. What show did you start and wound up hating so much you didn't finish it? The Blacklist. Season 1 established a cool story and a great anti-hero. The remainder of the series is about the insufferable protagonist ruining his plans, and how an entire FBI agency bends over backwards to support her, no matter how often or how hard she betrays them. There's a season without her that I thought was actually good again, but she returns and starts immediately making incredibly stupid mistakes again, so I couldn't continue. They lost me after Lizzie shot Tom in the gut several times and he still miraculously lived. Edit. He lived after being gut shot numerous times and was in the backseat of a car for hours. Come on. Rush him to the ER? Maybe. Let that shit percolate, literal shit, and bleed for hours and still survive? Nope. Plus, I loved Dredd's character, but the police in that show were so goddamn inept it was painful. Designated survivor. So good at even tackling commonly known political issues in a dedicatedly moderate way for the first season or two. Lovable characters, intriguing plot lines, just wonderful. Then Netflix took over and suddenly half of the best, and most important, characters were gone, not written out as transferred somewhere new, not killed off, just never mentioned again like they never existed. Every character that got to stay became a tool for the writers to make some incredibly pointed political point. Suddenly everyone started cussing. I don't much care if characters curse, but once you've spent seasons depicting almost no cursing, it's jarring to suddenly have everyone going at it full blast like it's normal. And to top it all off, the main character's lovable qualities just evaporated. It was a completely new show and it sucked rotten eggs. Designated survivor. First season was incredible. Second season was fine. After that it was awful. It became something so different than when it began that the show was unrecognizable, so I stopped watching within a few episodes of when it became a generic Washington DC based show. It should have been a mini-series. Under the Dome. Yep. I really like the book and the show started off pretty solid as I remember, but then it slowly got to where it was like, okay, what's the dumbest thing we can think up? Riverdale. The only part of the show that I know is the epic highs and lows of high school football exchange. Even based on just that, I think you made the right call. The Flash. I gave up on the entire Arrowverse about 5 years ago. It wasn't even like a conscious decision. I was kind of getting behind in all my shows, and I eventually realized I was about a month or so behind on Arrow and Flash and Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow, and I just didn't care. So I just never bothered to watch any of them anymore. Sister Wives. The husband is such a douche. Note, I only watched it because my wife liked the show, but it got so bad I couldn't be in the same room with her when she was watching it. Arrow. For 5 years I was stranded on an island. No wait, I was stranded on an island, and in Hong Kong, and then back to the island before I actually was in New York, but then I was rescued on the island again. It became an absolute mess lol. Glee. The funny thing about this show is it originally started as a satire of the very thing it became. Once Upon a Time. So effing glad I stopped at season 2. It became a show about Disney characters. They dropped so many of the original characters from the first season. It was such a disappointment. The 100. I surprisingly made it 5 seasons and I think I almost quit watching partway though season 1, because even though I really liked some aspects of the show, the characters and drama just pissed me off so much. I decided to keep going, and then I think episode 5 or 6, got me hooked. It didn't change how much I disliked most of the characters, and that kind of remained a trend throughout the show for me. Was absolutely captivated by the story and concept, absolutely hated the characters and drama. Clark, her mom, and Octavia sunk the show emo. After season 5 I think I just thought to myself, I enjoyed a lot of that, but I think I've seen all I need to see. Edit. Spelling. I loved the concept of the show and the first season and a half maybe. Some of the drama is idiotic, but the overall plot and execution was good enough. Until about when the adults finally came down. That's when the show got awful to me and I stopped watching. Walking Dead. After Glenn, I was done. Heroes. Well, the main villain of the show was the writer's strike. When they fired it up for season 3 it's as if no one knew what had happened in the first 2 seasons. It had potential. I watched a ton of Dexter, but a certain season made me hate it. Anytime people ask if I'd recommended the show I tell them yes, but you can stop watching after the Trinity Killer. Anyone watch Designated Survivor? S1 was back-to-back banger episodes and me and my ex completed it in record time. Q to S2 and had us both cringing to even think about watching it anymore. S1 is truly awesome. S2 starts to go downhill fast. S3 I stopped about 11 minutes into the first episode. Dexter. Trinity Killer season was peak TV, but then Deb's finding out about things and somehow allowing it to continue just felt weird. I stopped watching not long after that. Tried rewatching it all more recently and got to the exact same point before giving up for a second time. 13 Reasons Why. I'm not gonna lie, when this show dropped I binged all of the first season in secrecy because I was so embarrassed that I was hooked on mayo. But getting to the end of that season I was satisfied. Was not into whatever school shooter plot they were setting up for the rest, so just called it quits after S1. Feel zero need to ever return. How to Get Away with Murder. Very repetitive. This is mine. I loved the first season, tolerated the second, powered through the third. When I sat down to start the fourth, I realized I hated every single character and wanted them all to die, so I turned it off. Netflix's Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I really liked the first season, barely made it through the second season, and refused to watch the third. It always perplexed me how clueless Sabrina continued to be about all of the witchy customs and lore. Seemed like every episode was some new satanic holiday. Every single show. Sabrina, Good Morning Aunties. Foxy Aunt, Sabrina. Don't you know that tonight is the festival of blood-cursed devil moon? Have you not practiced your incantations? Sabrina, oh no, do I have to sacrifice another boyfriend? Bubbly Aunt, oh well, let's make cakes. Grey's Anatomy. I expect you don't mind spoilers, so I'm going with it lol, but season 18, I think, had her finally leaving Grey Sloan and she was about to leave for Boston and then her house suddenly burned down from a lightning strike and I couldn't stop laughing. It was so absurdly overdramatic and unnecessary. Edit. Season 19. Orange is the New Black. Piper annoyed the fucking shit out of me. Though I finished it, I felt the same way about her and Alex. Totally annoying. Suits. How they managed to put together 9 seasons of the same shit over and over I'll never understand because I quit in the middle of season 3. Exactly, it dawned on me that all it really was people strutting in and out of each other's offices having brief heated exchanges. Orange is the New Black. After Pulsates died I just couldn't watch it anymore. It goes from lighthearted to absolutely gut-wrenching after Pulsates died, but at that point you're attached to all the characters and want to see what happens to them. Spoilers. Dyer becomes a drug lord. Tasty is set up to take the fall for the murder of Piscatella despite the fact Cindy and Suzanne witness the feds accidentally kill him and then Cindy testifies against Tasty. Lana loses her baby and goes into psychosis and believes her dead baby is still alive and runs an Instagram account for him using other people's pictures. Red gets dementia and constantly relives her traumatic time in the mafia. Tiffany overdoses, Tasty attempts to unalive herself and everyone has a shitty time. Weeds. Yep, I'll still rewatch the early stuff. Up until the fire. Never past the fire. Every single season of ours since Freak Show always starts out strong and interesting, and then usually halfway through, Ryan Murphy consistently shows that he can't finish his story and I realize what's going to happen and just decide to quit around Roanoke. I stopped even giving him a chance. Deleted. Manifest. No character to root for. No character growth. Each person making the same dumb choice over and over. Didn't necessarily hate, but I just drifted and never came back. Walking Dead. The end of the line for me was how they were painfully dragging out the whole Negan saga. I don't remember what season it was, but I just quit in the middle of it. The last 2 seasons of Killing Eve. Season 1 is one of the most perfect seasons of any show I have ever seen. I am still convinced that there's no way the rest of it was the same show. Man in the High Castle. I remember asking a friend that had already watched if the non-Nazi characters ever get better about making the least rational decisions. He said no, so I wrapped up whatever episode I was on and never came back to it. Westworld. Loved the first season. Then it started going downhill. Haven't seen the latest season and I don't plan on it. Based on years of friend recommendations, I'm really looking forward to watching season 1 then pretending it ends there. The Good Doctor. Sorry, just too many cheesy flashbacks. My problem with The Good Doctor is that in the real world, someone with sensory issues that significant would not get into that job and keep it. Communication issues too. Although given that most doctors, especially surgeons, are fucking terrible communicators, I'm prepared to look past that. But the episode where they had the ER lockdown and Sean couldn't focus because of a noisy fluorescent light. Fuck's sake. You need to tell someone that's the problem. I say all this as a neurodivergent lawyer who has struggled to find secure employment because as soon as you disclose being neurodivergent or your neurodivergence becomes obvious, managers will find all sorts of reasons to claim they aren't discriminating on the basis of disability when that's exactly what they are doing. Because someone already mentioned you. Under the Dome. I also have to add True Blood. Also The Strain. True Blood was so good at first and then went downhill fast. Shameless. Just an over-the-top soap opera towards the later seasons. Still haven't finished the last 6 episodes and probably never will. Sucks because it started out so strong. I think I got to season 4/5 and bailed. Handmaid's Tale. The first season starts so strong, but as the seasons go on the story refuses to move forward. It was just an endless cycle of failed escapes. Or when characters finally have the chance to escape, they either change their mind or go back inside. It's like the writers were too afraid to shake up the status quo. After a few seasons I just gave up. Right there, W. Half of season 3 was seemingly just close soups of Elizabeth Moss seething. The 100. Started out strong. But by season 2 or 3 or so, when they first discover the army or whatever, even a bit before that, it was getting away from the sci-fi post-apocalyptic thought experiment that brought me to the show and into a ton of drama that I'm really not into. I didn't even really like the fact that there were survivors in large numbers still on Earth, but it was the turn to drama that really caused me to stop watching. Halo. I played the games growing up. I understand some sacrifices had to be made, but why in the hell would you show me Chief face on the first episode and have him go AWOL? Westworld has the sharpest downturn I've ever seen. Starts out so rad, and becomes absolutely unwatchable in an instant. I was out when a bunch of ex-special forces with P90s got annihilated by cowboys with revolvers. House of Cards. Fear the Walking Dead. Don't get me wrong, I loved the first 3 seasons. Then, They brought new showrunners in and they destroyed the show. The storytelling was insulting. There was no creativity. They immediately made our favorite characters so unlikable. Events just happened for no real reason, and it just felt like these new writers had no prior knowledge of the show before working on it. I can only think about what this show could have been if these changes didn't happen. I'm just glad they ended Scrubs at season 8 and didn't try to make a spin-off. 90% of Netflix catalog. The epitome of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.